Hello friend, this is the summary of the book called Flow by Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. I hope you will enjoy it. Why do some people seem to live happy, creative lives while others seem to get stuck in a comfortable but frustrating rut? The answer can be found in Flow by Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. Flow is one of the most important books in psychology. It says that as our lives get more stressful and busy, we can become too focused on external rewards and opinions. For example, by compulsively comparing ourselves with our peers. As a much-needed solution, the book shows us how to change our focus from external rewards to internal ones. This can help us get so involved in our interests that we enter a state called flow. In this state, we don't care about things like power or money, and we don't even care about what other people think. Flow is based on years of research, but it also uses ancient wisdom, philosophy, and modern psychology to give many examples of people who learned how to get into the zone, and then lived happy lives and did their best work because of it. For example, you'll learn that many scientists did some of their most important and groundbreaking work in their spare time. You'll learn why a surgeon or a millionaire football player might be very bored while a factory worker talks about everything under the sun. You'll also find out why, like it did for Malcolm X, going to jail can help you find your goals and make you more determined. And finally, you'll see how being more aware of your surroundings can also help you get the most out of listening to music. If you are unhappy at work or bored and unhappy at home, these chapters will shake you out of your rut and push you to make the most of your limited time on this planet. When we look at our lives from far away, they don't seem that important. And when we look at them closely, we see that we are unhappy and not getting what we want. Most of us look for comfort in religion or in things like money or fame to help us deal with hard things. Even though this seems like a good idea, it can also make us stop thinking critically. For example, organized religions like Christianity and Islam have given us rules to live by and given our lives meaning. However, as we've learned more about our place in the universe, we've seen that these rules are wrong. Still, many people keep following religious ideas because it makes them feel better to think that life has meaning. Also, many empires and cultures made their people think they had control over their fates. For example, the Romans at the height of their power and the Chinese before the Mongol invasion made their people think they were in charge of their lives. Even though this belief gave people comfort, it turned out to be completely wrong as each of these societies fell apart. And if we don't hide behind religion or political ideology to avoid the fact that our lives are pointless, we try to get power, money, or fame. But even these don't keep us happy for long. We live in a very comfortable time, and people from the past wouldn't believe all the conveniences we have now. But it doesn't seem like having more money or more things makes us happier. One study showed that being wealthy is not a strong predictor of being happy with life. You don't have to look far to see proof of this. Just think about how many rich people go to psychiatrists. So, to give our lives meaning, we try to change the world around us, whether it's by showing off our money to impress others or by trying to get into positions of power. But none of these things are enough to keep us happy. Even though our attention can only handle a certain amount of information over the course of a lifetime, most of us choose instant gratification as a way to get away from the daily grind. This is because we like simple pleasures more than those that are more rewarding but harder to get. Pleasure is a simple way to relax and feel better, just like sleeping or eating. For example, our bodies have evolved so that when our blood sugar is low, we feel hungry and want to eat something. On the other hand, when we enjoy something, we push ourselves, using our skills and focus to go beyond what seems to be our genetic limits. In this way, having fun helps us reach the big goals we set for ourselves and gives us more control over how we spend our time. This can be seen when we cook a meal we have never made before. This task requires patience and a willingness to try new things, both of which help us develop a sophisticated taste that lets us enjoy every bite. Still, we seem to like pleasure more than enjoyment, often in the form of painless escape and hedonism. But these don't offer anything new or a chance to grow. For instance, after a long day of work, many of us like to sit down and watch TV, movies, or videos. When we're just consuming, we're the most passive and easy to distract. Also, many of us use alcohol or other drugs to relax on the weekends. Even though these may promise to help you relax or open your mind, they often hurt our ability to focus and make us lose control. The formulaic plots of TV shows and the fake paradise of alcohol or drugs both need outside stimulation, but neither lets us use our skills or focus on our goals fully. Our minds don't always do what they can to help us grow or become more complex, but we shouldn't take the easiest and most distracting route. People from all over the world use the same words to talk about how they feel when they are in the zone. This is a feeling of enjoyment, not pleasure. It happens when you are doing a task or activity that is a good mix of skills and challenges, has clear goals, and gives you feedback right away. Take, for example, surgeons, who do very skilled operations. They can see right away how well they are doing by how much blood is in an incision. Removing a diseased organ can give them satisfaction because they know for sure that the operation was a success. Everyone can't have the same goals, though. Those who work in internal medicine are like surgeons. Like surgeons, they have clear goals, but unlike surgeons, they can't get immediate feedback. Since they can't get immediate feedback, they need to set other goals for fun, like figuring out what's wrong and giving the right medicine. When you're in the zone, you're fully focused on the task at hand. This combines doing something and being aware, which gives you a sense of being in charge. Think about people who climb rocks. They put themselves in a lot of danger to reach their goals, but they like to use their skills to calm their fears, like figuring out how hard a climb will be. To do this, they need to give the task their full attention. Melanesian sailors have also been seen to be so involved and focused on what they are doing. Researchers found that when these sailors were blindfolded and taken hundreds of miles away from their home island, they were able to figure out where they were just by paying attention to how the boat moved through the water. This deep involvement, which we can see in the surgeon, the rock climber, and the Melanesian sailor, is so powerful that it can make us forget about ourselves, our worries, and the passing of time. In fact, the rock climber is so focused on the details of the rock face that he forgets about his problems. Surgeons say that their operating team feels like a single organism. A tourist from the United States went into an antique shop in Naples one morning and asked to buy a sculpture. The owner asked for a high price, but when the tourist was ready to pay, he said the sculpture wasn't for sale. Why? He gave the tourist a high price not because he wanted to take advantage of him, but because he liked haggling and the battle of wits that comes with it. It helped him improve his mental agility and sales skills. When we do something like this, which is neither too easy nor too hard, we tend to push ourselves further and get more done. For instance, if you're new to tennis, you'll have fun just trying to hit the ball over the net at first. As you get better, this easy challenge will start to get boring, and you'll look for other ways to challenge yourself, probably by playing against someone else. If you choose an opponent who is much better than you, you'll quickly feel out of your depth and worried. Because the challenge is so hard, you might even turn down the chance to learn something new. But if you choose an opponent who is just a little bit better than you, you might actually get better. But to get better, these skills need to be in line with your own goals and passions and not be affected by outside factors like the promise of a reward if you do well or the threat of punishment if you don't. Think about the potter Eva Ziesel, who was locked up by Stalin's police. She did things like play chess against herself in her mind, memorize her own poetry, and do gymnastics to keep herself from going crazy. Even when things were at their worst, she kept getting better. People like Ziesel, who didn't have much else to keep them going, made games for themselves to stay sane, improve their skills and imagination, and gain control over their minds. Most of us have never thought about paying attention to how we walk. We just walk from point A to point B, but by paying attention to the variety of sights around you, the people, their interactions, historical relics, architecture and so on, even the most routine actions, such as walking, can be transformed. By practicing mindfulness of our surroundings, we can learn to perceive much more than our automatic response to the world allows. Indeed, the world is ripe for inspiration. The sky is filled with wondrous and unusual shapes and colors. Being mindful of such wonders allows us to feel connected to the world and to see things anew. Or consider the magic of music. Today we're spoiled for choice and can hear almost any music at the click of a button. Yet we rarely get lost in its full complexity. If we can learn to be mindful of the music we listen to, this can unlock other levels. The sensory, feeling the body responding to rhythm and bass. The analogic, when you see corresponding images in your mind's eye. Perhaps Tchaikovsky driving you on a sleigh through a snow-covered forest. And the analytic, in which you analyze the structure of a piece and compare it to other versions and composers and so on. But to become mindful, we need to strengthen our self-control, which can be achieved by tapping into ancient Eastern wisdom. For centuries, yoga has been practiced as a method to free the self from the ego. Yet it can be used also to steer our attention in positive directions that are aligned with specific goals. The steps that yoga prescribes to focus our attention are the practices of nonviolence, obedience, cleanliness, disciplined study and the acknowledgement of a higher power. It is indeed possible to have unprecedented control over your mind using nothing more than the body you inhabit. Many of us who play sports and exercise gain enjoyment from the focused attention these activities require. But it's not only through sports that we can achieve this. We can also use our minds to play games and get into the flow state, which produces enjoyment. Such a mental flow state can result from engaging in language and memory games and exercises. For instance, crosswords kill time on trains, but this pursuit is dependent on an external stimulus. Instead, try creating your own crossword puzzles. Not only can this lead to flow, but it also improves your wordplay skills, making conversations more fun by transcending the usual small talk and mundane exchanges. You can engage your memory, too. Find a subject that interests you and absorb everything about it, such as lines of poetry you like, or the events of World War II. By doing this, you enable yourself to rely on your own memory to stimulate your mind and to feel a connection with the subject. Furthermore, a flow state can be accomplished by focusing on external things, rather than on one's flaws. You could try what Bertrand Russell did to be happy. Forget about your own flaws and instead focus on the outside world. For example, you could immerse yourself in many fields of knowledge or think about people you look up to. In fact, even the complicated worlds of science and philosophy can be enjoyed by both laypeople and experts, because they require thinking and logic. In fact, a lot of scientists have been successful just because they liked getting better at science. Isaac Newton, for example, lived alone in a farmhouse for 2 years, where he came up with his theory of gravity. And Gregor Mendel was a priest whose interest in gardening led to the creation of genetics. And let's not forget that Einstein worked in a Swiss patent office during the day and came up with his ideas in his spare time. People are often unhappy with their daily lives, and their jobs are often to blame. Even worse, they use their free time to do the most lazy things to recover from their work. But work can be turned into something that challenges us, keeps us focused, and makes us feel less anxious. Think about the old people who lived in a small town in the Italian Alps. They didn't know the difference between their daily work and their free time. They had to get up at 5 a.m. every day to milk cows, carry hay bales for miles, take care of the orchard, or cook for their families. But when asked what they would change about their lives if they were rich, they said they wouldn't do anything different. People have said that they feel like they're in the flow more often when they're working than when they're not. They also said they had more faith in their own creativity and ability to focus. One way to get into a flow state is to give yourself intrinsic rewards, which aren't based on money or outside power. For example, you could try to do better than usual or learn as much as you can about your job. Take the railroad car welder who was very well liked by his coworkers. He was well liked because he knew how to do every important job on the assembly line at his company and liked doing them all. He also turned down promotions because he liked doing different kinds of manual work and liked making each one a challenge. When the day was over, he didn't feel the need to run away. Instead, he worked in his garden during his free time. So, to get into flow, you should look for new challenges at work and try to learn as much as you can about all the important tasks that keep your company running, instead of just clocking in and out. Busy trains and open-plan offices can make us feel less free and less like ourselves. We can give something our full attention when we're by ourselves, but we can also get bored. We need the help of people we know and trust at those times. In short, a good family, friends, and neighbors. Good families give honest feedback, accept everyone no matter what, and work toward long-term goals. Families that are good for having fun are both different and integrated. Different means that each family member has their own skills and traits, and integrated means that everyone is treated fairly and no one is left out. For example, kids are more likely to try to be like their parents if they do challenging, skilled things like carpentry or cooking instead of things like watching TV or drinking. We also need good friends because they help us get better at expressing ourselves. The skills we have are either useful, like survival and job skills, or they show who we are and help others understand us. Spending time with friends is better for our expressive side than being alone because it makes us happier, gives us more self-esteem, strength, and motivation, and gives us an audience. Lastly, we need neighbors and communities because they give us the chance to try new things and grow. If we don't talk to our neighbors or other people in our community, we won't get their help in the future and will stay stuck in our old ways. Think about how Indian tribes in Canada often find places with lots of food and set up permanent villages there. But every generation, they pick up and move to a new place where they have to start over. This means they have to learn new ways to find and gather food. They do this to shake up their normal lives and get new skills, good health, and energy. So make sure you put money and time into your relationships, as they will give you many chances to be happy and grow. We all have bad luck at some point or another. Instead of giving up because we don't think we can handle the situation, we could try one of these three things. First, we should let go of our pride and trust that we can handle things as they come up. For example, we've all had computers stop working for no apparent reason, usually when we're in the middle of something important. Most of us have also been on trains that broke down, which messed up our plans for the day. We often ask ourselves, why am I going through this? We feel frustrated because these things seem to go against what we want to happen. So, we need to learn to think about and respect the rules that govern the computer or the train, not just our own needs and goals. The second step is to become more aware of our surroundings. Take Charles Lindbergh, who was the first person to fly across the Atlantic Ocean by himself. Most people would have been scared to take such a risk, but Lindbergh didn't focus on his fear. Instead, he paid close attention to the levers, knobs, and even the weld marks in the cockpit. By being aware, Lindbergh was able to get rid of his worry. Third, instead of giving up when things get hard, you should use them to find new ways to deal with them. Say you've worked hard at your job, but your boss has a special relationship with a coworker that makes it hard for you to get a promotion. One way to deal with this is to try to make your boss like you. But you could also try something different. For example, you could work for a different company, start a new career, or just spend more time on your own projects. Neither of these options is better than the other, but the second one would give you much more interesting problems to solve. Since the Earth is not the center of the universe and our genes control our lives, life can seem to have no meaning. We can, however, give things meaning, and the best part is that we can all choose what that meaning is. To find your life's meaning, you need a big goal to work toward. The end goal doesn't matter as long as it throws you into increasingly difficult challenges and lets you ignore what other people think. For example, Renaissance artists tried to live in an idealistic culture and immersed themselves in it. They did this by picking the best parts of two different cultures that were at odds with each other. One focused on physical health and the senses and the other on spirituality and abstraction. Once you know what you want to do, you have to do it. For this, you need strong intentions and a plan. It's too easy to think of a goal in life but never reach it. In fact, many people are still armchair activists, who waste time by making long lists of things they need to do. Antonio Gramsci, for example, could have become just another isolated academic, but instead he turned the illnesses and poverty of his childhood into a lifelong fight against the social conditions that hurt his family. Because he was so determined, he got very political and died in one of Mussolini's jails as one of the most vocal opponents of fascism. Lastly, your goals and resolutions should go together and show a theme in your life. Malcolm X was one person who did this well. He was poor as a child, sold drugs, and went to prison. There, he learned how to read and think for himself. This helped him decide that he wanted to work for civil rights and make other people's lives better. Think about where we'd be if we didn't have such clear goals and strong determination. Would we be able to fight deadly diseases, make works of art, or go to the moon? Try not to be affected by outside rewards or other people's opinions if you want to live the best life possible. You can have fun in life by paying attention to each moment, being aware of your surroundings, and immersing yourself in things you like. Lastly, you should never shy away from hard challenges because they can help you grow as a person and reach your goals. What you should do to put what you've learned to use. Find out more about what you do. Make it a goal to learn as much as you can about your job, to take on new tasks when they come up, and to work better and faster than you have before. This will make you less likely to put things off, and time will go by much faster. You'll also become more liked by your coworkers, and you might even get a raise, but don't let these be your main goals. Turn off the TV and think of something new. Instead of watching TV or movies in the evening, try doing something with your friends, roommates, or community. For example, write and perform your own plays or start a book club. If you want to waste your weekend drinking, try salsa dancing, stand-up comedy, or the Kama Sutra instead. These kinds of things can help you feel more confident and make your conversations more interesting than the usual small talk and chit-chat. That is all for now, friend. Keep learning.